Alright, hey guys, welcome back. In our first tutorial, what we did was we set up the environment to work with Java. Today, what we're gonna do is just expand some more on the whole premise of this Java thing, this animal. Today, what we're gonna be discussing is objects and classes, which are hugely important to Java because it is an object-oriented language. But first, I think one of the things we need to discuss first that I kind of forgot to discuss in the last one was how to do comments in Java. One of the biggest things in programming is learning that you have to comment your code so that way other people, when they read your code, can actually understand your logic. Obviously, right now what we have is not really complicated. Anybody who knows anything about the programming language can understand it, but when we start talking about some like higher level type methods and big time calculations and things like that, it might get a little confusing. And most of the time, you're going to be working in a group of people, so you want to be very clear. And really good commenting is a clear cut way to do that. So I'll show y'all. The first thing I want to show you is what's called a multi-line comment. And the way you do that in Java is a slash and then a star. And then what you want to do is you want to finish it with the star and a slash. So what I can do here is write in this little area and say something like program hello world. If I can type program hello world. And then you might want to say something like this program prints hello world. Okay, so that's how you do the multi-line comment. There's also another comment that you can do that's a single line comment. I actually end up using the single line a lot more when I do commenting because I just find that it's what I just am used to doing. You just do a double slash and then you say something like this line will print hello world to the console. And so that's it. And if we run the program, you'll notice that the green text here, the actual commented out text, will actually be skipped by the Java compiler. And when we run it, it'll just print that hello world with no errors. Yeah, let's save it. Sure. And there it is, hello world. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go get to the nitty-grittiest stuff. Today we're going to be talking about the objects. Objects have two things. They have states and they have behaviors. For example, a dog can be brown, it can be named Sparky, and it can be a border collie. These are examples of states. States are fluid. They never change for that particular object. Also, dogs can bark and they can eat and poop and etc., all that kind of crazy stuff. And these are examples of behaviors. Now, what you need to know about objects is they're always contained inside what we call classes. And classes, what they are is basically they're kind of a blueprint that objects are created in. So to show you an example of that, what we'll do is we'll go up here to, you can do this either way. You can go to this, you can right click on the folder over here and go to new and then go to class, or you can go up here to the top and say file, new, class, whatever you like to do. I just usually just right click and say new class. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go on with the dog thing. So we're going to name it dog. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in here and finish. All right. So what you see is we have this public class dog. So what I'm going to do now is explain to you, in order to make a object, what we have to do is create what are called constructors. Constructors are a way to invoke an instance of an object. And what all that jumble meant is that it's just a way to create the object in our program. So one way, each Java object has to have, each class or Java object that you're creating has to have at least one constructor. So, and the only real rule with constructors is that the constructor must have the same name as the class that it's contained in. So let's just hop to it. Let's create our first constructor here. I find that in programming it's better to just do it and show examples. So we're going to say dog. And what we're going to do here, inside the parentheses, we're going to say string name. And what that's saying is I have a constructor named dog, and I'm passing it one parameter. These things inside the parentheses are what are called parameters. And so I'm going to pass it one parameter that's a string called name. Okay, inside there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a comment and say this constructor has one parameter name. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to say system dot out dot that was weird, print line, right? And then what we're going to say is past name is, and then we can use that parameter name right here. We can say plus name, and that'll work. That'll when we create an object, that'll print it out. So what we want to do here in our main method, let's go ahead and make a comment. I'm going to say following statement will create an object my dog. So what we're going to say is I want an object of type dog, not doff, dog. I'm going to name it my dog. And then what I'm going to say is new dog and give it the name Sparky. Right? And what you're seeing here, this new, what this does is this says, what this statement says is I have a variable of type dog. I'm giving it the name my dog, the variable name my dog. I'm going to say equals new, which new is just a keyword that says I'm creating a new object of type dog with the name Sparky. So really that's all we need right now. We can go ahead and save it and run it. And see, it said past name is Sparky, which is exactly what the constructor said. So that created our first object in Java, which is really what the language is all about. You'll use all these objects to do different things. You'll have objects like circles, and you'll have inheritance, which is where you just basically use something that you make. Like say you were doing classes that are doing shapes, right? And so you'll have one class that's called shape, and you'll inherit from shape and make circle, or you'll make square, or you'll make things like that. It's just this way of inheritance just makes it to where you can reuse code easily. So what we're going to do now is we're going to expand on our dog class a little bit. One thing that we want to do is take advantage of things called instance variables. So instance variables are where you put a variable inside the class. And what that means, what instance variables means, is that every time we instantiate or make a new object of type dog, it will have this variable that I'm about to put, which is called int. I'm going to call it int dog age. And what that's saying is I have an instance variable that's an int, and I'm naming it dog age. And if you don't know, int just means like a one character, like this is an int, this is an int, things of that nature. There's also doubles and floats and things of that nature. We'll get to that a little more later whenever we start doing calculations. Right now, what we want to do is we want really all that dog age right there is doing is just sitting out there. We haven't even done anything with it. So another important aspect of classes and objects are what are called methods, class methods. So we're going to create a couple class methods. We're going to say public int get, let's do setters first. Set age integer age. Okay? So I'll explain to you what that means. What you're doing here is you're saying I'm creating a public method that can be used anywhere. I'm going to return an integer. I'm going to name it set age, and I'm passing one argument called age. And I have the red beacon right there. So what we're going to do here, actually we need to void that because we're not passing anything back. What we're going to do is say void set age. And what void means is I'm not sending anything back. All I'm doing is just manipulating something. And what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate that dog age to where it equals this age right here. So in Java, it's real simple. You just say dog age equals age, right? And so the next thing we want to do is be able to get the dog age, because right now it doesn't do anything. We can't actually physically get it yet. So what we're going to want to do next is say public. Now we want to return an integer, and we're going to call it get age. And we don't have to pass any parameters here. So what we want to do is let's do a system.out.println, and we'll say dog's age is, and then what we'll do is say plus dog age. And we can use the dog age right here, down here, because it's actually because it's above, or basically because it's encapsulated in the class dog. It's an instance variable, so we can use it in all of our methods because it's instantiated. Say if I did something like this, if I said int fake age equals 16, right? Then all we'd be able to do, this is what's called a method variable. This variable can only be used inside the getAge method. So if we wanted to use fake age in setAge, we would get an error thrown because you just can't use it. It's not in the scope of the method, which scope just means its available range, meaning like it can get to it, it can read it. So we'll just get rid of that. That's just a little snippet, just for your information there. So what we're going to do is we're going to also return, because you have to return an integer here, right? So we're going to return dog age. And that's going to make it to where we can actually get our age of our dog. So underneath the my dog, what we can do in our main method is say, we'll comment it and say call class method to set dog's age, right? So what we want to do now is say we know my dog. We know my dog's. Most people know their dog's age, so we'll say my dog dot set age, and we'll pass it the parameter. Say the dog's 2 years old, so we'll say 2. What that's saying is now I've given my dog an age of 2 years old, or whatever, 2. That's all well and good, but it doesn't do anything at this point. So let's make it to where it gives us that age. So what we need to do is call class method to get dog's age. And get used to these getters and setters. Most of the time you'll use getters and setters for almost every parameter that every class instance that you use. You'll use getters and setters. It just it makes it to where what you really want to do is you want to come up here and make this integer private. That way, if somebody somehow gets into your code or wants to change this thing around, they can't do it publicly. They can't change it. This can't ever be changed outside of this instance, right? So you'll have multiple instances of dogs. Say you had 15 dogs here. Well, they could all have a different age. Here's my dog dot get age. And what that's going to do is that's going to print this line, dog is 2. It's going to say my dog's age is 2. Okay? And another way to actually get access to instant variables is to say something like this. I'm going to say another way to access instance variables. Whatever. You can say system dot out dot print line. I'm going to say variable age, and then you say plus, and then you say my dog dot, see right there, the first thing that comes up is dog age, because it knows that you're trying to access. In Eclipse, it has this intelligence thing that knows what you want pretty much before you do it. That's why I like to use IDEs, just because it makes it a lot easier, because you can just hit that enter button. And what that's saying is print out the line variable age and then concatenate, which just means add to the end of it the age of the dog. My dog has an age. We set it to 2. So we're going to use that age and print it right here. You could also do things like integer age equals my dog dot age dot dog age. See there? And use that age and manipulate it and do calculations to it. But we're not going to do that in this video. We're just going to kind of touch on classes and objects. So if we actually run that program now, what we get is a lot more information about our dog. See, we have the past name is Sparky, so the dog's name is Sparky. The dog's age is 2 years old, like we said it here, and we also got the variable age to 2. So either way you do it, you can still get that dog's age by either the get method or the dog age method. The reason why you don't want to just use this dog age method is because you might have to actually get that age in another method. So by having this class method already made, it makes it to where you can have a method that gets the age and maybe does something to it. Like you could say public boolean, which a boolean is just true false, is old, right? All right. And then you can say this. You can say we haven't touched on if statements, but I'm just going to give you a little thing here. If dog age is greater than 10, then what that's saying is if dog age is greater than 10, return true. And then we want to say, what if it's not greater than 10? So what you do at that point is say else return false. All right? So you could use the dog age instance variable, which is what most people really do, or you can use the get age method here. So you could say get age, I think. Get age, yep. Get age is greater than 10, and that'll do the exact same thing. So let's go ahead and print that out, show that to you. We'll say test is old. All right? And then we'll say system.out.print line. We'll say something like, is my dog old? And then you say plus, and you just go my dog dot is old. And what that's going to do is just print true false right there. It's going to say, it's going to run through, it's going to check and see the age of your dog, and if the dog is older than 10 years old, then it's going to say yes, your dog is, it's going to say true, yes, your dog is older. And if not, then it's going to return false. So if you run that, it says false, see? All right, so that is basically what we're going to cover today. I think another thing we could also do, something that I personally like to do better than this whole method here, is use what's called import java.io. Let's just all of it. All right. Okay, and what that's saying, all that, we'll discuss this import in more detail, but all you need to know is that's saying I want to use this, which is just basically a package of things that we can use to get access to our dog, right? And what we're going to do is, instead of actually making this in every dog, which is actually not a good idea, because you might want to use the dog in other things, like if you have a pets class that tells all about the pets or whatever. Like if you have a dog and you have a cat or a squirrel or a fucking alien or whatever, you might want to have multiple things right here. And you really don't want every single time you make the dog or whatever, what you really want to do here is just say, what you really want to do here is, instead of just saying system.out.println pass name is name, what you want to do is make something like this. Well, you'll have to make an instance variable first. That's why these instant variables are good. You can say private string dog name, right? And then you can say, for the parameter that you passed right there, you can, instead of doing this line, which we'll just comment out, you can make this dot dog name equals name. All right? So what that's going to do is that's going to set that dog name equal to name. Maybe. So, and what it's doing there is saying, okay, so you have dog name. What you need to do now is have a getter and a setter method, sort of similar to what we have here. So we already know how to do that. We'll just set it up right here. Public void set name string name is equal to dog name equals name, right? And so I like to keep my setters and my getters next to each other just so I can find them. And then we'll make another one here that's public string get name, right? We'll say system.out.println dog's name is, and then we'll say plus dog name, right? So now we have our getters and our setters for this one. You will also need to return the name, so we'll just return dog name, so that way it's happy. And then what we'll do is, instead of this line right here, instead of it actually printing out this past name is Sparky every time, what it'll do is it'll just make that name Sparky for the dog. And then what we can do is, underneath it, we can say call class method to get dog's name, and we'll say my dog dot get name, right? And that'll send us the dog name and print it out for us in the way that we specified it. It'll say dog's name is, and then it'll say Sparky for this case. But what if you wanted to change the dog's name? So we'll say call class method to set dog's name, right? And we'll say my dog dot set name, and then we'll pass it the string. I don't know. What do we want to name it? Let's name it Zeke. That's a cool dog name. Zeke. Powerful. And we'll rewrite it out just so we can see the change occur. Call get dog again. Get name again. And we'll say my dog dot get name. Right? Okay. So let's run that and see what happens. See? It says dog's name is Sparky. And then what we did right here, it says dog's name is Sparky. Then what we did was we set the name back to be Zeke. And then we called the getName method, and it actually changed that dog object's name to Zeke, right? And you could do the same thing with the set age. You could do it multiple times. However many times you need to do it, you can do it. You can actually write main methods that run just the same as other methods and have if-else clauses and all that kind of good stuff. So, but that should do it for this tutorial. Come back next time. We're going to talk about a lot more things in detail. We're going to talk about this inheritance and polymorphism thing a little bit more in detail. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.